Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to this presentation on the loan applications available by the SBA and SBA affiliated banks under the recent stimulus in response to COVID-19. So this presentation is designed to talk primarily about the EIDL, but we'll also speak more about the Payroll Protection Program. But before we get into that, I'd like to introduce today's speakers. So our main presenter will be Angel O'Neill. Angel is a CPA with over 22 years of experience as a tax practitioner. She got her start at Harb Levy and Weiland in the late 90s, where she worked for about 12 years before moving to PricewaterhouseCoopers, where she was a tax director in the personal financial services, specializing in income tax planning, business succession planning, estate gift and retirement planning, international cross-border planning, charitable giving, estate and trust administration, and family offices. In 2015, she started her own accountancy, where she specializes in taxation for high net worth individuals, gifts, estates and trusts, and closely held businesses, tax compliance and planning for individuals and partnerships and LLCs, C&S corporations and private foundations, and tax compliance and planning for foreign trusts, amongst many other things. She'll be our main presenter to speak about the various programs available to us. And at the end, I will walk through the actual eligibility app and application for the EIDL application. And my name is James O'Neill. I am the principal of the law offices of James O'Neill. I practice primarily in estate planning and estate administration with offices in San Francisco, Berkeley, and San Rafael. And why don't we just jump right into it, Angel? Why don't we go to that first slide and get going and give us a little bit of a roadmap of where we're headed with this.
All right, thank you very much for the kind introduction. So we want to do this because all these programs are very timely and they are specific for the COVID-19 program. And another reason for it is all the programs are budgeted by the Congress and funded with the Congress money, so they do run now, and they are first come first serve. So even though there are a lot of unknown questions, but we will just go ahead and you should just act promptly. So we're going to mainly talk about the PPP and EIDL, and we're going to explain what those are. They're both are small business loan programs. And then as the COVID-19 program, there's this special $10,000 grant that's under the EIDL, and that we would like people to know about. And then Jay at the end will walk you through the application process for the EIDL program, because it's provided by SBA. So SBA website has already have the application ready. So he's able to walk you through. So let's just, so a PPP is a Paycheck Protection Program loan. So it's designed to primarily provide incentive for people to keep their payrolls, pay the people. So it's not a new program, it's always there. It used to be called SBA Section 7A loans. So, but now it gets a lot of attention because, as we know, because of this disaster, all small businesses are facing with the payroll thing. But it does not have to be just payroll, and we'll explain the details later. So the next one is EIDL, so it's Economic Injury Disaster Loan. So it's a SBA provided loan You can use it for property damage. And again, this is not a program, and it's not just for COVID-19. So if there are other disasters that you can also apply. So, but because we're talking about the COVID-19 and because the COVID-19 programs are time sensitive, so our talk today will just primarily focus on the specific COVID-19 program under these two SBA small business loan programs, PPP and EIDL. So the main difference between EIDL and PPP, EIDL is administered by SBA and PPP is administered by SBA designated banks. So for the COVID program, EIDL is from now available until December 31st, and PPP is available now until June 30th. So in terms of loan amount, EIDL is $2 million, PPP is 2.5 times your payroll up to $10 million. EIDL, you need collateral for loans bigger than $25,000. For PPP, absolutely no collateral. And then for the EIDL loan, there's no forgiveness. For PPP loan, if 75% is used for payroll, and the entire loan can be forgiven. There's a special thing, as I mentioned earlier at the beginning, there's a grant that's $10,000. Basically, it's just money. It's not loan. It's part of the loan application process, but it's just an advance or a grant that's just given to you. So, next we'll just go into a little detail. So for the PPP COVID-19, so it's $349 billion in total. Loan amount up to $2 million, 1% fixed. Long term is two years. It can be used for payroll, benefits, mortgage interest, rents, utilities. Who's eligible? Small business with fewer than 500 employees, including sole proprietors, independent contractors, nonprofit organizations. So again, just want to point out that they're administered by banks. So Jay and I did this presentation yesterday, and we've been trying. A lot of people are interested in PPP because the loan rate is low, and basically the entire loan can be forgiven. So it's like free money. So a lot of people ask, how do we get it? The truth is, this is so new, and the banks don't know how to do it yet. So later on, we're going to say that it's supposed to be available now, but it's probably not.
And just to jump in there, Angel, I saw First Republic actually just minutes ago sent out their official notice about its availability. So they will be rolling out. Today is April 3rd. They will be rolling out over the next week, I would expect, for these. And just to highlight a key point there is that the EIDL is SBA administered, meaning that when you complete an application and submit it, the SBA will approve or do what they will with it, and you will see the results. Whereas with PPP, that's an SBA partnership with the banks. And so you will be working with the bank to secure those loans.
Yeah, so again, just to highlight, the PPP is primarily for business to continue with their payroll. So the payroll the costs are capped at $100,000 annual base for each employee. And then if you use 75% of the loan, at least for payroll, then the entire loan is forgivable. And then the loan payments are automatically defer for this COVID-19 program, automatically defer for 6 months. So the business and sole proprietorships are, sorry. Sorry about that. So it's supposed to be available today, but as I said that, they're not ready, but it does not mean that you shouldn't do what you do. So, so on the websites, on SBA, they have application that you can download, and you should definitely do that. And if you have payroll reports from 2019, definitely get those, but we don't have specifics yet. And then supposedly for independent contractors, you know, self-employed, sole proprietor, it's starting April 10th. So, and then we'll give you the websites that you can get more information on this PPP loan. So next we'll jump into EIDL loan. So the EIDL loan, in terms of the terms and everything, it's not as attractive as PPP, you know. So as you can see, the rate is 3.75 for business, 2.75 for nonprofits, longer long term. But we want to talk about it is because of this. One is administered by SBA, and SBA has already received the funding from the Congress. So it's different from, you know, that with the bank, and they're not ready. So we don't know how long that's going to take. But for the EIDL, SBA, as far as I can tell, they're ready. So who's eligible? Similar to PPP, small business, 500 employees, fewer, sole proprietor, and independent contractors. So like the gig workers, nonprofit, everything. And the payment is automatically deferred for 12 months. And then, as I said, these are not new programs. So normally they have all sorts of requirements, but for the COVID-19 disaster, they waive the 1-year operational requirement. So you need to be exist as of 1/31. So literally, if you starting your business 1/1/2020, you are qualified. Okay. And then how they determine on the loan, just based on your credit scores. So when you fill out the application, they ask for your social security number, and then they will check your credit score. And they waive the requirements to submit a tax return. And then, you know, there are other ways that they may request other information when they provide the loan to you. So let's talk about this $10,000. So this is, to me, it looks like it's just free money from the government as long as you apply. So the total budget for the EIDL advancement, this is just for the $10,000 advance, is $10 billion in total, but it's a nationwide program. So you can do the math, how many, you know, applicants they can give.
Well, and Angel, if I've got this down correctly, it's $10,000 per business, right? So conceivably a person may have multiple businesses that they can apply for.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So this is it's as I said, it's when you apply for the loan, there's a box there for you to check and say, do you want to get the $10,000 advance? So you, by checking the box, that it looks like you could just potentially get it. I mean, we don't know, but it seems that's the case. And the entire application is self-certified. You just say that under penalty of perjury, it's all right. And they ask for some financial information. You know, what's your gross revenue, what's your cost of goods sold, what's your operating expenses. So it's all for the period that ended January 31st, 2020. So it's basically 11 months in 2019 and 1 month in 2020. And they also include the rent loss, which means it covers for residential rental and commercial rental. So if you get the $10,000 advance, then it's when it comes time for the PPP loan. I mean, that's how the loans coordinate with each other. You can apply for multiple loan programs, but they would consider each other. If you get a $10,000 here, then when they forgive the PPP, they would take this $10,000 into consideration. But say, for example, if you apply for EIDL, and then, so you get the $10,000 money upfront before they review your loan application, and then at the end, they decided that you're not qualified for the loan, you don't need to pay back the $10,000. And likewise, so if you get the $10,000 upfront and then later on they offer you a loan, you're like, no, I don't feel like it, and you turn down the loan, you don't have to give the $10,000 back. So that's the beauty of it. So it sounds like that it's just free money from the government. They just try to help a small business out. So there are more information. So currently the timeline, that's what they say. We don't know yet. Supposedly the $10,000 is available 3 days from your application. The loan is 15 days. So, but again, the SBA website is fully functional and the application is there. And this is the website, is the COVID-19 relief. And then there's this full sort of like a fact sheets that you can see if you want to find out more detail. So, but it seems to me that it's little effort. It's like a 3-page application. No, you don't need to turn in any information. Just do it, and just seems to me you don't have anything to lose. So. So I would recommend doing this as soon as possible.
Well, and to pick up on that point, we have 2 competing programs here, one of which is really designed for payroll and those related expenses, and will likely require more documentation. And then you have which is the PPP, and then you have the EIDL, which may make sense, you know, when you look at the interest rate on the PPP being higher than the EIDL. Well, if you're a solo practitioner in law, such as I am, and you look at that 3.75%, maybe you qualify for that loan. Maybe you want to take out the $20,000 to pay the expenses you see coming up, because that's cheaper than the loan sources you would have otherwise used for it if you have a credit card, for instance. So there's some strategy, I think, involved in choosing which loan program to go with at the end of the day, or how to coordinate the 2 loan programs that should be considered. But I think your point is well taken, that at the very least, you might as well at least sign up for that $10,000 advance, so you can get operating money immediately, you know, during this time where so many people's revenues have really taken a hit.
Yep. So this is just some takeaway points. I don't know if you pay attention to what Jay earlier he said. So to just correct him a little bit, PPP currently, at least for the COVID-19 program, the interest rate under PPP is lower than the interest rate under EIDL. PPP is 1%, EIDL is 3.75%. Right. Yeah, so
right.
Yeah, you said it.
Well, so I might have misspoken. My point there was the EIDL rate might be higher, but there might be reasons why the program still makes sense for you.
Oh yeah, definitely. Because he's absolutely right that it's still lower than credit card because a lot of the business are operating, using the credit card debts. So it's absolutely better. So if you can get it and pay off your credit card. Because now, cash is the king. So, and you don't want to pay more interest than you should have. And PPP, it's best for businesses with a lot of payroll. So then you can still, and potentially it's free money because if you use it solely for payroll or at least 75%, it can all be forgiven. So why not, right? I mean, the government is helping us. So if you have big payroll, PPP is your best option. But the 10K, hey, free money, everyone should get it. Um, so I think the message we want to give to everybody here is these programs specific for the virus relief. So it's going to run out. So will the Congress give more money? Maybe, but we don't know. So first come, first serve. So for the, at least right now, for the EIDL program, the entire application is self-certified. They don't ask any document. So you can apply for both loans. No double dipping. So for example, so they will ask you if you're getting other loans subsidized, and you would tell them. So it's not applicable to illegal businesses. So sorry that, to our cannabis business owners, they can't get any help from the government. And you can apply for multiple business. So say if you're running like rental, residential rental, and you're doing this, doing that, and you can apply for multiple businesses. And then for the loan, they, especially for the EIDL, they're going to use your credit score to determine the loan amount. So, I don't know about you, I have my credit frozen because of fear for identity theft. So before you do that, unfreeze your credit report. So that concludes my presentation today.
Thank you for that, Angel. I'm gonna take over the share screen feature here, and in just a moment I'll jump onto just walking through the EIDL application using some fictitious data in the meanwhile. But just to reiterate the broad brushstrokes of what to take away here on EIDL versus PPP is EIDL is something you can do yourself right now on a web browser that's supposed to have very quick turnaround for cash. The PPP is going to be a program you need to coordinate with a banker on, set up an appointment, fill in documents, and take them to meet with them. So that's certainly something you should be strategizing on the next few days. And if I'm counting the application numbers right, I saw as of this morning that it looked like they had probably had about 600,000 applications so far. And if we do some math here, that means there's a few slots left to apply for that $10,000 benefit. But as Angel alluded, it is not infinite there. So Angel, could you just confirm with me that you see the application form here?
Yes.
Okay, great. So, and let's see here, make sure we got that. All right. So, okay. So here we have, as you can see, this is at the SBA website, the disaster loan assistance. You can see the URL is covid19relief.sba.gov. It'll bring you to this, or you can browse to it through the SBA website. I prefer to go to the website and click through it just to make sure I don't accidentally get connected onto some sort of con artist website where they've recreated this. I want to make sure that if I'm putting my sensitive information, it's only going to the people I want to see it. So that is what I do. So we're going to run through these forms really quickly. You'll see across the top here we have the 5-step process, which is really just 4 steps of information followed by the summary before you submit. And so the very first screen is going to be about eligibility verifications. Are you someone who can qualify for this program? So I'm going to go with the answers for a sole proprietorship here, because I think that's going to be the most useful to the audience. Obviously, we have a large range. If you fall in any of these categories, if you're a business with not more than 500 employees, or a co-op with not more than 500, or maybe an ESOP with employees, or a tribal, or more probably commonly a nonprofit, you can qualify. I'm going to go under sole proprietorship here. And then the next questions go back to what Angel was saying about businesses engaging in frowned upon activity, illegal activity. I'm not engaged in that. I'm not behind on my child support obligations. This is not agriculture. Nothing related to prurient sexual behavior or otherwise. Revenue is not coming from gambling activities. I'm not a lobbyist, and I am not a government entity. Since I meet all those criteria, I can go forward to filling in the form here. So I'm just going to put in some business, fake business information, and I'm going to call fake business as my form of or the name of my business. I'm going to call it, that's my fictional EIN number for the business. I'm going to call myself a sole proprietorship as a cell phone business. I am not a nonprofit, and I am not a franchise. So gross revenues for the 12 months prior to the date of disaster, let's just say $150,000. That seems like something a lawyer might make, possibly more. Since I am a lawyer, I do not sell goods, so that will be 0. Obviously, if you sell goods, so you'd put something different there. Likewise, if you have lost rent from rental properties, you'd put that in. I'm not a nonprofit, so I'll skip by that. I am not providing secular services as a faith-based entity.
No, up there you have to do the operating expense.
Combined that's for all secular services provided by a faith-based entity.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Compensation from other sources. I have not applied for another SBA or other disaster-related loans, so I'm going to enter 0. I don't need to fill that in there, and put in my business address in California, which is where we are recording this. And presumably I'm in the county is San Francisco. Presumably I'm in the financial district, so I'll put a financial district zip code there. All of this should be pretty readily available to you now. You can fill in the other forms if you want to, but for the sake of expediency, I'll put in, I'll skip past the non-required forms. Now, this is the key thing here, right? You have to have at least been in business since January 31st, 2020. I'm going to say I started at the beginning of the year. And then I'm going to hit the drop-down box here to figure out what category I fall into. There are a whole bunch of categories here, so you need to scroll through those and figure out which one fits you best. I'm a lawyer, so I'll claim legal services. And then it'll give me a sub drop-down box in the detailed business activity field, and I'll choose law firms. And I have 0 employees because it's just me. All right. So here we are on business owner information. This is the key part, or this is one of the key parts I want you to focus on, is whether you're owned by an entity or not. As a sole proprietor, I am not owned by an entity. I'm not a sub corporation of some other larger entity type. So I can just choose no there, and then we'll put in my name. My business phone and my mobile phone are the same here. I'm going to call myself the owner. 100%. And what did I say? Was it fake@business.com? I forgot my email address. And my social. Make a fictitious business place, birth date, I mean. I am a citizen. I also work out of my business address. My home address is a home business in this fictitious case. Now, obviously, if this were some other business type, like an LLP, you'd put in an additional owner for whoever the owners are. Now, the additional information here is, once again, these are some criteria for eligibility. Good fortune, no criminal convictions for me. I haven't been barred by the federal government from getting loans from them. And no indictments pending or arrests in the past 6 months, or convictions or guilty pleas. So that's good. So I filled this in myself. I don't need to specify that someone helped me with this. There are services that you can pay to do this. I think this form's relatively straightforward, so I don't think it's really necessary. I think most people can do this on their own. But if you do hire someone to help you with this, or if your accountant helps you with this, you might fill in that information there. This is the important box that you want to check, right? This is the key to the EIDL loan. I think in Angel's eyes, and as well as mine, is getting that advance for $10,000, right? And so you check that box, and you're going to enter your bank information and routing details so they can electronically deposit that stuff as quickly as possible. Now, this program became available on Sunday, I believe that's March 30th. It has a 15-day lead time to get up to speed. So that means if you put something in the next few days, instead of getting that 3-day turnaround, it'll be probably 3 days plus whatever's left on that 15-day lead time. But if we fast forward to April 15th, and you're submitting this application, then the idea is you should be getting that $10,000 grant, if any's left, or advance, within 3 days. So you'll see at the bottom of this is where we have all of the things that we are swearing under penalty of perjury. So you definitely want to read through this carefully and make sure these are all things that you would say in court. These are things you would say under oath, and that you're willing to be held under a penalty of perjury if you're being or suffer the sanction related to perjury if you're being untruthful about that. But once you do that, you go ahead, you hit the checkbox and next, and it'll take you to the summary form. I'm going to stop here because I don't want to submit my fake data and cause confusion for the SBA. But what you'll get at the end of the submission process is a confirmation number that will tell you that you submitted the loan, or your reference number is if you need to call up and talk to anybody about that, and also really to get a glimpse of where you are in the loan process. So that's just a quick overview of the form, and the whole point of that was merely to show that the form is really not that difficult to complete. Largely, if you have your business tax return in front of you, you can do all of this in 5 to 10 minutes. Get it submitted, get in line, and secure both that advance and get the consideration for the EIDL loan. As we alluded to earlier, there are pros and cons to the EIDL loan versus a PPP, and whether you qualify better for one or the other. Both of them have fantastic interest rates compared to other loan products. So you should consider talking to your accountant or your financial advisor, or whoever it is gives you advice on managing the assets of your business and the liabilities of your business, especially in this difficult time. Hopefully you've already reached out to them to work on your business budget. But that's the goal of this presentation, and I hopefully it's been helpful to you. Angel, is there anything you'd like to add in at this point?
Just a couple of quick things when you fill out this application. One is reserve your time to do this, because if between you started it to your submission, if you get out of it, you have to start all over again. And two is you keep a record of your submission number, because that's the only proof that you've done it. as I said, if you click somewhere else and you come back, it's gone. So it happened to me once. So yeah, so do it from the beginning till you submit it, and get the submission number and print it.
Okay, and we will make the slide deck of this presentation available for anyone who needs it. Of course, both Angel's contact and my contact information are at the front if someone wants to reach us offline with questions about this. And I strongly encourage everybody to reach out to others they know, whether they're business owners or independent contractors, nonprofits. Everybody's struggling at this time, and I think we could all use the help we can get to bridge the gap between when the COVID illness really struck the United States to the other side of this, whatever that may look like. So I'd like to thank you, Angel, for agreeing to present and presenting all this information. I'd like to thank everybody for attending, and I wish you all the best. Thank you.
Thank you.